Very good afternoon to all of you. I am Professor Naval Kishore from School of Management Studies, IGNOU, New Delhi. Today, I am going to discuss about the forms of business organization 2. By now, you all are aware that there are 4 forms of business organization. These major forms of business organization are: first, sole proprietorship; second, partnership; third, joint stock company; and fourth, cooperative society. As far as sole proprietorship and partnerships are concerned, the advantages of both the forms of business organization are control, secrecy of information, motivation, ease of formation, and low cost of organization. As far as their disadvantages or drawbacks are concerned, those are limited resources, limited managerial capabilities, and unlimited liabilities. Similarly, the company form of organizations have certain advantages. For example, more resources, limited liability, and diverse managerial abilities. Therefore, whenever you are planning to opt a particular form of business, you need to decide which form of organization is more suitable to you. You have to analyze critically about the suitability of each form of organization, because this is a very crucial decision from your part. This decision will determine about the power and responsibility of the entrepreneurs, as well as the division of profit and loss by the entrepreneurs. Therefore, you need to choose a particular form of business organization very carefully, because once you decide to go for a particular form of business organization, changing may become very difficult for you, because you need to follow all the formalities related to setting up business under a particular form of business organization. Now the question arises, what should be the requisites of an ideal form of business organization? Because you must be knowing that there may be certain essentials of an ideal form of organization, and you need to evaluate each form of business organization to arrive at a final decision for setting up your own form of business organization. The requisites of an ideal form of organization are: first, ease of formation. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you need to prefer that form of business organization which is easier for you to set up the business in that particular organization. Broadly, 3 factors must be considered. The first is formation expenses. As you all know, that when you want to set up a business, there are certain expenses which are required to be incurred from your side. Those expenses may be the registration fees for a particular business, there may be stamp duty, there may be fees related to the legal experts, etc., etc. So you need to calculate that how much fees you are going to spend in all these activities. Sometimes you may need to get the documents drafted from somebody, some experts. You may require to obtain the licenses also. So all these expenditure you need to calculate. Next is legal formalities. Obviously, sometimes the government of India or a state government may prescribe some sort of legal activities to be performed by the business organization. Therefore, you need to follow all those legal formalities. Next is about procedural delays. As you all aware that when you want to obtain some permission for starting a particular form of business organization, you may require to apply for a particular organization specified for that purpose, and it may take some time. If you want to have the license for starting a restaurant, it may take time. So therefore, you need to calculate those aspects as such. So broadly, after analyzing these three, and in addition to these three, there may be other formalities also. So based on that, you may decide that which one is the easiest way of formation of business organization as per your requirement. Next is a scope of raising capital. Obviously, the identification of the business requires or is determined by the requirement of the capital in a particular organization. Therefore, you need to think that what type of organization you are going to form. Is it the small scale? Is it a big industry? Is it related to a very limited sort of the area, location, etc., etc.? So therefore, you need to think over what should be the nature of your business. Are you planning to have a small grocery store, or are you planning to establish a sort of industry? For example, textiles industry, for example, sugar industry, like that. Or even if you want to set up some sort of the, let's say, the software sort of the organization where you want to set up the whole range of the business for the call center type of business. Now you have to think over in all these business how much capital is required, how much capital you may raise, you may mobilize. Based on that, you may think over that which business to be selected. Next is about extent of liability. As you all are aware that the risk and uncertainty are the part of the each business. And there may be the businessman who may prefer limited liability. There may be businessmen who may prefer unlimited liability. There may be businessmen who don't mind in investing huge amount and they don't bother about the liability. So therefore, you need to think over that how much liability you want to take for starting a business. Because the liabilities in, for example, if there is a sole trading organization, and if the liability is unlimited, that means your personal assets would also be attached for clearing the debt of the organization. And wherever there is a limited liability, that means whatever debt is there, whatever limitation you have already fixed for that particular business, you need to provide or clear the debt within that limitation. Therefore, you have to think about this liability. Moreover, as far as the risk is concerned, ideally or occasionally some risk associated of the business may also spur for your initiative, drive and involvement in the business. Because if there is a risk, you also want to resolve that issue. You also want to put more effort to solve that issue. But if there is a completely lack of interest, so that may again not be able to motivate you to work hard for that purpose. Therefore, some amount of risk also brings challenges to the businessman, and as a result, he may work with full motivation, full zeal, and full capacity to commit more for the business. Next is flexibility of operation. As you all are aware that the business requires flexibility, and it is more important when you plan some sort of expansion, when you plan some sort of diversification, when you plan some sort of modernization. For example, if you are having retail business at a particular place, now you want to expand there, or you want to add different department in that retail, or you want to modernize the whole range of through new technology, through new innovative structure, through new ways of management, etc., etc. Whole things new, new machines, new technology, etc., etc. So for all these purposes, there requires to be flexible business organization. So you have to think that which business you want, where you think that that would be flexible from your point of view. Next is stability and continuity. Obviously, you want to run a business for long-term perspective. Therefore, you want to have stability in that particular business, and that stability is required for the employees, for the owner, and for the customers also. So employees want that he should have a continuous employment. Similarly, owners want that his planning should be for the future direction of the business over a long period of the time, because in between he doesn't want to close the business. And as far as customers are concerned, customer wants that there should be regular supply of goods and services, so that that supply may be able to meet the requirement of the customers. So therefore, you need to select the business which provides reasonable stability of the business. Next is effectiveness of management. Obviously, the success of any business depends to a large extent on the efficiency of the management. And management efficiency depends on skills, motivation, flexibility, adaptability, etc., etc. If you are motivated more, obviously you will contribute more for your business. You will do your best for your business. It is difficult for an individual to possess all these qualities. Therefore, you may need the suggestions and contribution of the experts, professionals. So you have to think that whether you are able to run the business yourself or you need the help or suggestions or advices of the experts or the contribution of the professionals. Next is about extent of government control and regulation. Obviously, it should be clear to you that if the government control and regulations are too many, in that case, the organization has to divert sufficient amount of time, money and energy to comply those regulations prescribed by the government. That means this regulation will interfere in your day-to-day activities. And your investors, creditors, and customers trust the business enterprises whose activities are regulated by the government because they get faith in your business, because they know that the government is also regulating that particular business. As a result, the investors, creditors and customers, they get confidence in that. But too much regulations create problem for you as an entrepreneur or businessman. Therefore, you have to make a balance so that your initiative should not be disrupted, your work should not be disrupted. Next is business secrecy. Obviously, in a business, the secrecy is very important for the business. So, you have to prefer that what type of business you are going to run and how much secrecy is required in that particular business. Next is tax burden. Obviously, you all are know now that GST and there are several taxes also, how those taxes are going to influence your business. So therefore, if the tax liability is more, you may have to make payment for that and that may incur cost for you also. So it depends that what is the quantum of your business. Next, how much tax should be imposed on that particular business. So based on your mobilization of resources and activities of the operations, you have to decide that this much of the burden of the tax should be imposed on you and you have to make payment for that tax. Next is ownership prerogative. You must be aware that somebody has a strong desire to control the entire business and to impose their way of functioning in the business activities. At the same time, some of the businessmen, they don't want to be that much active in a business. They don't want to have that much control in a business. As a result, what happens, they may prefer to have less participated in the business. Somebody would like to have more participation, somebody may take more risk, somebody want less participation, somebody may take less risk. Therefore, these are the prerogative of the owner of the business and you have to think that where you want to take less risk, less liability, more liability, etc., etc. And based on that, you have to select the form of business organization. Now, as far as the comparison of all these form of business organizations are concerned, because it is very difficult for you to identify an ideal form of business organization. Therefore, you need to compare all the 5 broad just the business format, the business organization, forms of business organization, and you have to analyze that which one may be suitable for your organization. Now, as far as comparison is concerned, broadly sole proprietorship, partnership, private limited company, public limited company, and cooperative form of organization. The first is about formation. Obviously, sole proprietorship, it is very easy to form. You decide to start a business, you just provide some capital and you can start the business. But partnership is not as easy as sole proprietorship. Here you have to go for the partnership deed, you have to go for the agreement, and after that agreement you may start it. Private limited company is difficult than earlier too, because it has to follow the legal formalities, and public limited company is quite difficult than private limited company because it has many legal formalities. And as far as cooperative form of organization is concerned, there are few legal formalities in the cooperative form of organization. Next is a specific regulation. Under the sole proprietorship, there is no such a specific regulation. Under the partnership, you need to run the business as per Indian Partnership Act 1932. Under the private limited company, you need to follow all the regulations related to Companies Act 1956. Under the public limited company also, you have to follow the regulations of Companies Act 1956, and cooperative form of organization is run by Cooperative Society Act 1912. Next is legal status. Obviously, under sole proprietorship, there is no legal status. And under the partnership, it is not separate, it has not separate legal status. As far as private limited company are concerned, it has separate legal status. Public limited company also separate legal status, and cooperative form of organization also has separate legal status. As far as member is concerned, under sole proprietorship, you have the single owner, one person will run the business. Under the partnership, the minimum number is 2 and maximum may be up to 50. Under the private limited company, minimum number may be 2 and maximum up to 200. Under public limited company, minimum number may be 7 and there is no maximum limit. Under cooperative organization, minimum number may be 10 and there is no maximum limit. As far as capital is concerned, very limited capital is required under sole proprietorship, limited capital is required under partnership, and large capital resources is required under the company form business, and any amount of capital can be raised in the public limited company, and no substantial resources required under the cooperative form of business. So as far as management and ownership is concerned, under the sole proprietorship, owner is the manager. Under the partnership also, owner and management same. Under the private limited company, control, risk and ownership generally may go together. Under public limited company, there is a complete separation of management from ownership, and under cooperative organization, it managed by all members. Next is managerial expertise. Obviously, in sole proprietorship, it is very limited. Under partnership, there is a limited expertise. Under private limited company, there is a scope for the expertise, and under public limited company, very wide scope for expertise, and under cooperative organization, there is a scope for expertise. As far as owner's liability is concerned, it is unlimited in sole proprietorship, unlimited in partnership, it is limited in private limited company and public limited company, and it is limited subject to bylaws under cooperative organization. Same as far as the basis of the profit share is concerned, obviously in sole proprietorship enjoyed by the owner, partnership shared by the partners as per agreements. Under the private limited company shared by owners in the proportion of shares held. Under public limited company, shared by owners in the proportion of share sale. Under cooperative form, volume of business by each member. Ownership transfer, obviously in sole proprietorship at the will. In partnership as per agreement. In private limited company, restricted and relatively difficult. Under public limited company, it is at will and very easy. Under cooperative organization, it is restricted. Business stability, obviously, in sole proprietorship depends upon the life of the owner. Under partnership depends upon the insolvency, retirement and death of the partners. Under private limited company, it is perpetual existence, death, insolvency of the member won't affect. There is a perpetual existence, death, insolvency of the members won't affect in public limited company also, and death, insolvency of member does not affect in the cooperative organization also. As far as business secrets is concerned, there is a full secrecy in sole proprietorship. It is secret, and that secrecy is shared by the partnership, and in the private limited company, secrets shared by the members. In public limited company, it is exposed to public, and cooperative organization exposed to members. State regulations, almost nil in sole proprietorship, very little in partnership, considerable regulation in private company, excessive regulations in public company, considerable regulation in cooperative form of organization. Tax liability, no special income tax on sole proprietorship, no special income tax on partnership. Heavily taxed and income is double taxed in private limited company. Heavily taxed and income is double taxed in public limited company. Exemption from income tax in cooperative form of organization. Flexibility, obviously it is elastic in sole proprietorship. It can be changed only with the consent of the partners in partnership. It is an elastic organization under private limited company, and it is an elastic organization under public limited company, and it is an inelastic organization under cooperative organization. Auditing, not required in sole proprietorship, not required in partnership, compulsory in private limited company, compulsory in public limited company, and compulsory in cooperative organization. Winding up at the will of the owner in sole proprietorship, at will in the partnership as per agreement, under the act in private limited company, under the act in public limited company, and under the act in cooperative form of organization. Thank you very much.